What's up, my Blueprint family? Hope everything is going good. Hope everything is going great. Hope you guys are enjoying God's richest blessing and also enjoying everything that life has to offer. We all know that every day above ground is a good day that we should enjoy, a good day that we should seize, because when life ends, we don't want it to end with any regrets. Blueprint family, Jamaicans, I have an interesting video planned out for you guys today. This video is the Prime Minister passing on some very insightful information to the Jamaican people and also to the diaspora. The Prime Minister shares some information that going forward, the diaspora will play an important part in the growth of Jamaican people. And this is wonderful because there's a lot of people in the diaspora that wants to come back and invest in Jamaica. And I know they would be glad to hear that preparations are being made and also they are going to play an important part, that their country actually needs them, that their presence is welcome and needed. Guys, as I said, this video is insightful and you guys need to check it out. So I'm not going to waste any time. Let's jump into that video right now.
Philanthropy.
Well, the diaspora is an important part of the Jamaican community. But I want to rephrase that to say that the diaspora is an important part of the Jamaican economy and society, particularly the economy. We have relied on the diaspora historically for philanthropy and for remittances. In the coming years, as Jamaica develops and becomes economically a stable country and a growing country, the diaspora can play and probably will play a more significant role in the local economy of Jamaica. And they would do this, first of all, through being a market for Jamaica's exports. So that would be the first line of target for our exports, to export to our diaspora, to consume our products. Secondly, to invest in Jamaica, starting particularly in real estate, and we're seeing that happening significantly. But we would like to see greater investments in Jamaica coming through our stock market, which is very well established, institutionally strong, but could do much better with an influx of investment in our stock market. That's a fairly easy way to invest in Jamaica. And then we would like to see the innovation and entrepreneurism of our diaspora being activated in Jamaica by starting business or getting into partnerships with businesses in Jamaica. And that would see an influx of capital to spur growth in, as I said, real estate, but in infrastructure, in energy, in agriculture. But as the economy becomes more sophisticated and our unemployment decreases, we will have to look to the diaspora for an infusion of skills, particularly higher level skills in technology, AI, for example, to fuel the growth of these new industries in Jamaica. So the diaspora, for us, it's family, but I think we have to start to think of the diaspora as more than family. The family is the basis, but we have to start thinking of the diaspora now as an asset that we can leverage to improve our economic prospects. But the diaspora also plays a critical role, which it has always played, but now I think we may need to have it more systematically, and that is what we call paradiplomacy. Having a very strong and vibrant diaspora in the United States can help to support policy in Jamaica in a changing and sometimes a world that may not necessarily be favorable to small countries. So it is important that people who are living in the United States of Jamaican heritage and Jamaican lineage and family, and that they should get involved in the politics of the country they live, because it not only helps to ensure that the diaspora, wherever they live, that they can survive and thrive in the country they live, but it is also beneficial for their homeland.
Good morning, Lee here. You've spoken about economic growth and job creation as pillars of your leadership. What immediate steps are being taken now in this new term to ensure Jamaicans, both at home and abroad, see tangible benefits?
Well, let's start with economic growth and job creation, which is an actual ministry, or was an actual ministry in our last two terms. We have reduced unemployment in the last 9 years from 13.5 or 13.7% to 3.3%. That's the lowest ever unemployment rate in Jamaica. The next step for that is to continue to decrease the unemployment rate. We are technically at full employment, but we're now going to be looking at improving and upskilling the Jamaican worker. Because though we have reduced unemployment, we do find from our various surveys that there may be significant underemployment in some areas. And, I said in my inauguration speech that more than 70% of our GDP is directly generated from the services economy. And if you think of what services is, it's the intrinsic delivery of output from the person. I mean, you can't separate service from person. And therefore, if you're going to improve service, which means improving your output, improving your productivity, and improving your GDP, you have to improve the person and their ability to deliver service. And that can only come through an improved base of education. And on top of that, you build even more sophisticated skills. So that's the effort that we will undertake in our new term here as government of Jamaica, upskilling and improving our workers, and that will have a very positive impact on our economy. However, there are other things that we will do to expand the economy. We don't usually try to select any specific industry for incentives or special treatment, but we are considering, well, not considering, it's not the right word, we are actively now pursuing the development of logistics as another plank of our economy, and we will be building out several special economic zones that will support, which will be near port and around our ports, which will support the development of the logistics industry, which will create new economic opportunities, expand the economy, and contribute to economic growth.
Sir, crime reduction has been a major achievement under your leadership. As you begin the third term, what are the next steps to sustain peace and safety across Jamaicans and Jamaican communities?
Well, crime reduction is one of our major achievements, but I want to put it in a bigger context. The challenge is to reduce violence and achieve peace in Jamaica. And so the challenge is much greater than crime fighting. It's about building a society where the culture is the use of reason, emotional intelligence, and regulation to resolve conflicts. And conflicts occur in every society, in everyday living. You have, intimate partner conflicts which may result in violence. You have domestic issues which result in violence. You have violence in how we discipline our children. We have violence in how we conduct our politics in elections. And over the years, the country has come together to address these issues. So, for example, we have been very successful as a country to eliminate political violence, violence in how we select and determine our leadership and governance. That is no longer a feature of the Jamaican society, and we can all be proud of that. That we have had at least 3 or 4 elections now where there's been no political violence. Governments have changed and been re-elected seamlessly, and that augurs well for Jamaica, being the oldest black democracy in the world. We're a very strong democracy, and we are no longer plagued by political violence. Now our attention has to be turned to dealing with violence from a social context, which is what has plagued us for the last 30 years. Now, a part of the violence that we have experienced is organized violence. And the organized violence comes from the emergence and dominance of gangs in communities. We tend in Jamaica to have a kind of, I hate to say this, almost a romantic view of gangs, that they are innocent, disenfranchised youth who are deprived in the society, and therefore their only way to survive is to turn to crime. That kind of view of gangs is totally incorrect. The truth is that the gangs have evolved into organized criminal enterprises that operate pretty much like a business. They are in it for profit, and they will exploit communities, undermine and capture communities in order to do their illicit activities, which range from scamming to drugs, to transshipment, human trafficking, extortion, murder. And so what they do is to use violence as a tool of their trade. And that has accounted for in Jamaica more than 70%, as high sometimes as 80% of all homicides in Jamaica are related to gangs. And therefore, we have been very strategic in the last decade at eliminating the gangs. At one time, we had over 300 gangs identified and assessed at varying levels of operation. Today, we have less than 100 gangs operating, and we will continue to eradicate the gangs from our society. They're a scourge, and they must be dealt with very firmly because they mean our country no good. And there has to be a change in the way in which our society sees the gangs. And the gangs have connections in the diaspora, and sometimes they are actually manipulated and directed from the diaspora. And we see this in the connections with how guns get into the country. And so we have been very active in trying to stem the flow of guns into Jamaica. So we are very, very firm on this matter of reducing violence due to organized criminal activity. But then as we do that, and as we have reduced murders now by 55% over the last 3 years, we're seeing the emergence now of social violence, meaning intimate partner violence, domestic issues that result in violence and the loss of life, and the violence in how we discipline and bring up our children. And so these kinds of socially generated violence, we have to now focus on them deliberately. So domestic abuse legislation, protecting our women, protecting vulnerable people, giving the opportunity for dispute resolution in community-based solutions that will see access to justice very quickly so that people don't have to resort to violence. All of these are areas in which the government will be putting more effort and more resources to ensure that we genuinely move towards being a peaceful society, which we would define as a society where every citizen sees themselves as a warden of that peace, that they believe in using the formal systems to resolve conflict, that our people are pro-social, meaning that they are emotionally regulated, they apply socio-emotional intelligence, and that there is a genuine, kinder, more loving, caring society. And that's what the government will be focusing on in this term.
Now, PM, Jamaica continues to shine on the world stage through culture, sports, and innovation. How will the government build on that momentum to strengthen Jamaica's global brand and deepen ties with international partners?
Yeah, so Jamaica's culture is probably the most unique and identifiable in the world. It has found its way into almost every corner of the globe, and in some way, shape, or form has influenced modern popular culture. Whether it is rap music, R&B, the truth is that Jamaican culture has influenced globally, and therefore you could consider Jamaica to be a superpower island when it comes to culture. The trick is how to use this in a way that generates not just the I hate to use the term political, but it does give some access and visibility on the world stage. But how do we monetize this? How do we make this a part of our economic asset? And that has been the subject of great discussion and commitments, but we haven't actually done it. We haven't actually found a way to monetize our culture and our sports. On the individual and personal level, yes, the artists and the athletes have been able to do quite well individually, but as a nation, how do we monetize this? The first thing, obviously, is to use our culture to develop our brand. The two things are indeed not separate, because it is the achievement in culture, entertainment, and sports that have elevated the brand. And the brand does give you access to markets. So in that kind of organic way, we do benefit from our prowess in sports and our creativity in entertainment and culture. But it does call for now a more systematic approach, given the fact that the laws around these our people, particularly in the technology around the product of the cultural and music product. We need to give them a deeper understanding and connection to their history, so that our history can continue to influence what we're producing now. But so training and supporting our athletes and our musicians and our filmmakers, that's critical. But secondly, because it is now an industry, it's a business, an important element of it is how do we finance it? Because I think we need to move away from the notion that you're going to get a one-hit and bust, as we say in Jamaica. That's not how it works. Yes, you may have somebody score a one-hit here and they explode on the international stage. But what you know is that to make it through, either as an athlete or as a musician or as a filmmaker, it is usually years of work and preparation and networking and getting into the right. The One Love, the other was James Bond, and there are some other local films that have competed in a sense for support, and so that is one tangible way in which we have supported the creative industries, and we do intend to use that similar model in other areas of the creative industries, and we continue to support our athletes in giving them access to things like insurance and support for stipend during training and so forth. And we are now examining ways to increase our support for our athletes, because we recognize that they have a choice. They obviously would be very proud and want to wear our flag, but at the end of the day, when they come home, they would also want to be able to take care of their children and have a good house and live a good life. And other countries are offering them that. So we're cognizant of that. So we're looking at how we can support our athletes. Of course, the fiscal monetary demands on the government. There are many things to do. So it's about careful consideration and involving the public in the discourse so that when the decisions are made, they don't divide the nation.
Looking ahead, what message would you like to send to Jamaicans in the diaspora and about their role in shaping the Jamaica of tomorrow?
Well, first of all, I would like to say thanks to all the members of the diaspora who came home and voted in the election, regardless of who you voted for, that you felt it important to come and participate in the democracy of the country should be acknowledged, and I acknowledge you. And of course, if you voted for me, even a greater special acknowledgement and thanks. But as I said earlier, the issue of power diplomacy, we're seeing almost a movement away or a challenge to multilateralism, which would give some deference to smaller countries. I think the world that is emerging is one where you have to stand on your own 2 feet. And so if there are Jamaicans who forget about that. You have to be, what it means to be an independent nation is that you have to stand on your own 2 feet. But it also means, as an independent nation, and I use the term nation because it's not just an independent country. The nation does include our citizens and persons who claim Jamaican heritage and citizenship as part of our nation. And those persons can play a role in ensuring that Jamaica is always favorably considered, that we are positioned in a strategic way in the world, and that we contribute not only to Jamaica's development, but to the development of the world. So Jamaicans living in the United States or elsewhere, helps Jamaica when they do well where they live, where they participate in the politics of their country, where they are part of enterprise, they're part of society in philanthropy and charity, they're part of academia, they are creating new knowledge, and they are participating in the peace and development of the country in which they live. That helps Jamaica. And in the same way, when they pay attention to affairs in Jamaica and contribute, whether it is in knowledge and academia, in society and culture, in economics, or just, waving the flag at a sporting event and shouting, Jamaica, Jamaica, one love. That helps Jamaica.
So before you go, many Jamaicans abroad want to return home or contribute more directly. What is your administration going to make it easier for members of the Diaspora to resettle, invest, and even start businesses in Jamaica?
Well, there are already in place provisions which support our returning residents. And those provisions are fairly liberal in terms of incentives, in terms of duty concessions on taking home your goods to Jamaica when you're returning to live in Jamaica. But we outside of that, the objective is not to create a special window for any set or special set of Jamaicans other than persons who we would consider to be marginal in the society or specific disabilities. What we want to build in Jamaica is a society, an enterprise where the rules and bureaucracy are simple, that you don't have to give any special incentive. So it's a level playing field for all, and it is easy for all. And that's the other element of the term, which we will be focusing on, and that is improving our efficiency. And that means not just increasing the output of our people, but reducing the bureaucracy, which in the last 20 or 30 years has evolved into a very dense and complicated obstacle for not just people in the diaspora, but more so for people living in Jamaica. And so we have to pay attention to that. We have layered on rules on top of rules on top of rules and regulations and laws, and they have become very complicated and sometimes even working at cross purposes and consumes time, which is to grow the economy and increase the standard and quality of life of Jamaicans. I want to thank you.
All right, this wholeness. We have a series of rapid fire questions that we have to ask you before you go really quickly. Is it coffee or tea for you in the morning?
It's really, some orange juice or coconut water, but yeah, it's tea. But listen, big up Blue Mountain Coffee. You can't get better than Blue Mountain Coffee. Oh, my favorite dish. These days I've kind of changed my diet. So, look, saltfish is always great. I don't do the ackee these days, but ackee and saltfish was always good.
Okay. One Jamaican proverb that you live by.
What is out there? There's so many of them. But look, one cocoa full basket, which speaks to me. Take your time, collect your cocos, put them in the basket. Before you know it, you fill the basket. So it speaks to a steady, diligent perseverance. And that's what we have been dealing with the Jamaican economy. Just one day at a time, one achievement at a time. And after 9 years, we turn around and present it to the people of Jamaica, a basket of achievements. Cut the debt in half, cut murders in half, cut unemployment to its lowest level, cut poverty in half, and 10 budgets, no net new taxes, just the highest reserves that the country has ever had. That's what we have done steadily and with great certainty. And I think that the people of Jamaica have come to now acknowledge the performance of the government, and we have changed the politics. And for the first time, Jamaica is heading towards a meritocracy where if you merit it, you will get it. At one point in time, the philosophy was that, politics is about scarce benefits and spoils, and that, the man who works is not the man who necessarily gets the reward. We have changed that. And what the results of the election has clearly said, performance over promise.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We are here in full support of you. Be safe as you travel throughout New York City. And again, thank you, Prime Minister.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. And to your listeners and the Jamaican diaspora.